Hey, okay, so for this course, we're going to be talking about how to stay current in our field of early childhood education, and then also a little bit about social networking, which obviously is a big deal right now with all of the social media platforms that we have. So we'll go ahead and get started here. Just to cover some things that a lot of educators think or have a tendency to think about professional development. And one is that continuing education is a waste of time. Okay, people might say something like, I've been doing this for 100 years, I know it all, nobody even notices when I change things. Okay, and those are all bogus, actually. Those are just not accurate. There's always something to learn. Abraham Lincoln actually said once, I don't think much of a man who is not wiser today than he was yesterday, which means, in short, that people need to be learning all the time. You don't know everything there is to know about child care or developmentally appropriate practice. There's always room to grow. I learn stuff all the time, and we just need to keep being willing to learn and moving forward. So kudos to Abe Lincoln for that wisdom. All right, so we should be, as early childhood professionals, really any adult should be a lifelong learner, and this is really more important now in time than it ever has been before, and I would say it progressively is getting more so. We need to be open-minded and inquisitive. We need to be willing to ask questions and to try to get answers. We need to be open-minded to new theories or new ideas or any of that. We need to be persistent in our approach to learning. We need to be trying consistently and persistently to get answers and to figure out what the best methods are for working with maybe a difficult child or a super gifted child, or the latest theories on education in the early childhood classroom. Another characteristic is the need to master new knowledge and skills efficiently and confidently using a variety of techniques. There is no one single best method. Different things are going to work with different people, whether it's the teacher or the child. And we need to have that knowledge and the skills available so that we can, cater to the individual children based on, how we teach best as well. Lifelong learners see a need to assess themselves and improve knowledge, skills, and opportunities, which probably speaks for itself right there. And then it also offers characteristic is respect just for the sake of learning. I mean, learning is just great. We shouldn't be stagnant. We shouldn't just be sitting around doing nothing. We need to grow. And so just the respect for learning and wanting to model that respect for learning to younger generations is important. Okay, so who should stay current? Teachers should stay current. Directors should stay current. Trainers like me, we need to stay current on the new trends and new information. Professors who are teaching people how to work in the classroom, of course, need to stay current. Paraprofessionals, cooks, bus drivers, etc., subs, floaters, everyone working in early childhood needs to stay current on information. And really, as teachers, as directors, you need to be also keeping parents current on the latest information as much as you can, and also the public. I think that a lot of times people who are not working in early childhood education or who don't have young children, I think that it may not be important, or think that old school methods are the best, and it is our responsibility to pass on information to parents and to the public so that they know that what we're doing is worthwhile and that these kids are worth investing in, and all of that. Okay, so what makes a true professional stand apart from others? They never stop learning, and I work with people now and have worked with people in the past who really, rose to the top because they were just always searching for new information. They wanted to get better. They wanted to learn. They wanted to move forward. All right. So some things we need to be current on. One is child development. If you are working in early childhood education, you need to know how children grow, and that is just a no-brainer. You need to know how they're growing physically. You need to know how they're growing emotionally, socially, cognitively, with language. We need to know just the basics of that. And then as we gain information, we need to stay current on that also. Another big one in child development is brain development. I mean, there's just always, there's, sorry, I was getting a weird message there. There's just always new research coming out about brain development and, how the young child's brain is growing. We need to stay current on curriculum and how curriculum should be written and the new theories and the new methods of teaching information. So that would come under teaching techniques also. We need to know how to assess children, assess ourselves and our teaching styles, our teaching methods, but also assess children and how they're growing so that we can cater our teaching to them and what's best for them. Classroom management, y'all, this is a big one. I can't tell you how many workshops I've done on, positive discipline or discipline in the classroom or redirection or anything like that. Classroom management is hard. You're dealing with discipline, you're dealing with, transitions, you're dealing with parents, you're dealing with paperwork. This is all stuff that you need to stay on top of, because if you don't, you're going to find yourself with a lot of stress pretty quickly. Teamwork, you're working as a team. You've got maybe somebody else working in the classroom with you. Certainly you've got other people in the center working with you, and you've got to be able to support each other and work together. And you need to know each other's strengths and weaknesses so you can play off of those and really be the best, use each other in a good way so that you can grow and really be the best you. Family partnerships. Families are key. Families are critical. Families are the reasons that you even are in business, because you've got to have families to have children. And these families love the kids, and they love them more than you can ever love them, and they want what's best. And they may not always know what's best, with the curriculum and development and all of that, but they want to reach out and they want to help in different ways. And you need to stay current on maybe trends or ways that you can encourage that type of partnership. All right, and then health and safety. This is one that you need to stay current on. I don't remember the details exactly, but I know in the last few years the method of performing CPR, as far as chest compressions and breath, that ratio has changed, and I don't remember what it is. But things like that are changing, and you need to know the best way, the way research is showing that's, going to help, preserve a child's life or their health better. All right, so the next question here is, when do we try to develop ourselves? When do we try to educate ourselves? Because we're busy people. You're working, you've got families, you've taken care of your own children, you're taking care of your parents. There's just a lot going on. All right, I think I was just talking about how we just got a lot going on. And even as I was saying that, a text came through from my daughter who's at school and sick, and so I had to pause the video and try to figure out, how we were going to get her home and to the doctor and everything. And so that just to say, I know we're constantly being bombarded with life. But we need to also always have our eyes open and our ears open to learning new things, always. If you're given planning time at work, then, use that for planning, but also for maybe reading articles, going to trainings or doing these e-trainings. And we may have to do that on our own, some of this on our own time. And I know that kind of stinks, but that is the nature of the beast here. I'll tell you that really the only social media platform that I use a whole lot is Facebook, and I very frequently have, these short little articles that pop up in my feed about child development or some new research or some new ideas or some new theory, and I'm able to just to kind of, skim through those and have a better idea of what is going on currently in the field. So I've got a note to myself here. You can make a reminder like on the second Tuesday or the fourth Thursday of a month or something to find an article to read. Just, even monthly, just read a little article or two, and that'll definitely be a step in the right direction. Sorry, this is a little crazy right here. Okay. Oh my goodness, I don't know why it's doing it again. I clearly need to change that slide. Oh my goodness, it's doing it again. Okay. All right. Here we go. Okay, so where do we do our trainings? Colleges and universities, of course, getting some type of college education or university education is one way to get a lot of this. Or maybe even taking a class from time to time. Distance education is an option, kind of like these e-training courses that we are offering now. Professional organizations like SECA or NACCE, if you can get involved just a little bit with those, or just check out their website and read some of the articles. It would be great if you could join. If money is an issue, they still put out some good publications for online for just any child care professional to read. Community-based programs are important. Continuing education, going to conferences and seminars, and this may be a challenge also because of the financial obligations and the time that it takes to do things like that. But if you can get to a conference or something like that, a local conference even, you can pick up on some really great information. I know in Tuscaloosa, we do have we're a big university and we are always bringing in speakers. But if you're in Auburn or Tuscaloosa or Birmingham or in that area, somehow get on a listserv because these speakers are always being brought in for a pretty minimal price, and sometimes even scholarships are offered to go to these 2 or 3 hour seminars or conferences, and they can have some really, really great information. And then webinars. There are all types of webinars you can sign up for and just sit back with a bowl of popcorn for 90 minutes and listen to some early childhood professional in another state, possibly another country, talking about how they do things in their classroom. So why should we stay current? Why should we stay current? It helps to build our confidence. If we know that we are on top of things, that builds our confidence. If we know we're doing things well, that builds our confidence, and that's important. We're always being assessed on our knowledge or skills by our peers. People are always looking at us, using us maybe sometimes as a benchmark as to what to strive for or what to strive away from or something like that. It's our responsibility. If we're in this field, we're in it for a reason, and we need to be responsible caregivers just as we, expect other professionals, other professions to stay up to date. Doctors, nurses, attorneys all have to, be recertified or take, boards over again, or, get a certain number of training hours every, couple of years. That's their way of staying up to date. And we want doctors and nurses and attorneys to stay up to date on new law or medicine. Just like these parents that you're serving, these parents of the children you're serving, want you to stay up to date and to be doing your best and taking care of them. Research is always discovering new things. I think old school, would say that dirt is bad. And certainly there can be some negative aspects to dirt. However, what we're seeing is the bacteria in the dirt, the minerals that are absorbed into the skin while kids are playing in dirt is good for the kids. It's good for the kids. And that's because we know that because more recent research is telling us this. Trends are always changing, sometimes for good, sometimes not so good. I'm trying to think here of of a good trend. Okay, I'm not coming up with one real quickly here, so I'll just move on and I'll come back to that if I think of something. Techniques are always being revised, like I was talking about CPR earlier. New recommendations for educating kids are always developing. So I started college in 1997, and I probably was sometime into late 1998 when I started taking human development or child development classes. And there are some pretty major things that we do differently now in 2018 than we did in 1998, and that just doesn't seem like that long ago. And we need to stay current also to help keep things from getting stale and to stay excited. I think that sometimes it's easy to sometimes to fall into a rut. And when you can go and get some new information or be around people who are passionate about the same things that you're passionate about, you get energized, you get re-excited, you remember why you're in the field in the first place, whether it's a workshop here at the university or a conference over at the conference center, or a really great webinar, free webinar, a really well-written article somewhere you find on the NACCE website. These things help our profession to keep from getting stale. All right, some more on why we should stay current here. Again, getting together and sharing war stories provides a sense of encouragement and that we're not in it alone. When you can get together with people that you may know, people you may not know, who are passionate about the same things, or who are dealing with the same difficult things, you remember also that you're not in it alone. You're not the only one who's struggling with biters in your classroom, or you're not the only one who is wondering if a kid in their classroom has got some type of disability, or you're not the only one who's concerned about the parenting situation in a child's household. That encouragement is just really, really critical. We learn more about things that we can do to reduce stress in the classroom, stress that we feel and that the children feel. It helps you to feel more confident in your career choice and helps defend why you do what you do. Probably a lot of you watching this have at some point heard childcare compared to babysitting, and it's not that. Babysitting is a valid thing for people to do. And I'm on top of that, but good childcare goes a step further, and you need to be able to articulate to parents or to lawmakers or to the public why you're doing what you're doing and why you're doing something and how it's important to children and how that is going to affect society in the next 15 or 20 or 30 years. That investing in these children's lives early on is not just a small, short-term investment. It's a long-term investment. And when you can do that, you may find yourself backed up by policymakers and who may put more money and energy into education. We also want to stay current because it may offer some sense of job security. So if for some reason your director had to start cutting jobs because attendance was down or enrollment was down or something like that, and if you were the one who was constantly going to conferences or webinars or reading articles or asking her for good resources, there's a good chance you would be the last person to go, or one of the last people to go, because you were the one who were really investing your time in doing better. So you're basically more valuable to your employer. And then you also want to make a bigger contribution to the team here. All right, we're going to skip that. Actually, we're not. We're going to skip this little video that I put in here, but we are going to look at these points here. One thing you can do is you can look at past evaluations or talk to your director to see what areas you could benefit development in. So you could look at your evaluations, and your director could say something like, she's really, really good with the children, but her lesson plans need help. So you can look at that and look for some good resources in writing good lesson plans or organizing lesson plans better. Or, you could say, hey, director, what is something that I need work on in my classroom? And your director might say, hey, there are a lot of things you do well. Discipline is always an issue, and you can, use that as a jumping board to getting some resources on discipline in the classroom. And you're going to look for advice from people whose skills you'd like to emulate, like some type of mentor or something like that. If there's somebody that you work with or somebody that is really, really, really good at what they do, try to figure out why they're so good at it. Okay, and when we think about mentoring, we usually think about a younger adult, looking up to an older adult or someone who's been in the field longer, which is completely valid, and we encourage that. But what this woman is talking about, which I'm not going to talk or let you listen to right now, is this idea of like reverse mentoring, where the older people are looking to the younger people for some of these new ideas, these fresh ideas. Because older people have probably been in the field longer and may not be as up to date on the newer trends, or they may not have that excitement that someone who's new into their career may have. So some more on how you can do this, even if you're not looking for a new job. And I do hope that you're in a good place where you don't feel like you have to look for a new job. But it's not a bad idea to look at job ads and to see what skills people are looking for, because those are the skills that are valuable in the field. So maybe you got your job 15 years ago, but you start looking at job descriptions that were written a month ago, and they're very different. So you'll know that these skills that are being looked for now, those are the skills that you need to know so that you can grow and move forward. You need to keep some type of Vita or resume or career listing, what types of special projects you've been on at work, responsibilities that you have, webinars you've been to, seminars that you've been to. If you receive some type of encouraging email from an employer or a parent or a board member, keep that so that you have that, so if you ever do need to move forward into another job, you've got that as evidence. Of course, continuing education, pass around articles at work. Director, if you find a good article, or employee, if you find a good article, make a copy of it and pass it around to those around you. You can look at blogs, webinars that we've talked about, look at books that have been written recently, email newsletters, make friends, like I said, with people across generations. Have a younger mentor, have an older mentor. Everybody's got a lot to offer here. And then discussion groups might be a good idea if you can figure out how to participate in something like that. So how can we help teachers, directors? We need to set clear expectations. I have been in jobs before where those expectations just were not very clear, and it was discouraging, and it didn't make me want to just kind of shut down in a sense. So just be very clear, directors, as to what you want your staff to do. Make things affordable also. We are not in this field for the money. We're just not. So if we're expecting, staff to get, trainings, or go to seminars or whatever, and we don't provide them with, pay during those times, or, it being inexpensive, they're again going to get discouraged, and they're going to be like, how can we move forward if we don't have their financial resources to do it? Make it convenient. That's one of the reasons we are trying to offer these e-trainings, is to make trainings for a lot of you more convenient, because let's face it, if you're working from 7 to 6 and then you've got your own children, you can't get over to campus to go to trainings that you need to stay open. And so we want to give you these online resources so you can, after you put your own kids into bed, you can do you can do trainings. You want to make it meaningful. It needs to mean something, and you be creative in how you help to develop teachers. One idea that I saw was like, okay, it may be expensive to hire a speaker to come in, to do a training at your place. Probably a lot of trainings you would be privy to are going to be free. Any trainings from Child Development Resources are free. But if you were to bring in a speaker who was charging and you just didn't have the financial resources to do it, why not reach out to a couple other centers in your area and say, hey, there's this great speaker. I'd love to bring her in. She costs $300. We can't afford that. Why don't we all, chip in $100 and bring the speaker in, and then three times the teachers in the area can have this extra education, because you're not really competing against other daycares in the area or preschools in the area. Y'all should be working together to make things better for all of the kids, whether they go to your preschool daycare or not. Ben Franklin said an investment in knowledge pays best interest. Good old Ben Franklin. All right, so switching gears, just real quickly, just a couple of slides here. Social networking with families. Let's see, what do we have here? First, anytime you do social networking with kids, you need to have a consent form. You need to have permission from the parents to post anything about their child, picture, whatever, on one of these social networks. You may want to consider having a workshop for your staff, and perhaps even for parents, about how social media can help support children's learnings. Be sure you share the school's Twitter handle, Facebook page, Instagram, whatever, with families, and start posting. Put stuff up there. Once you get consent forms and once people know how to use it, oh my goodness, families would love to see pictures of, the children's day going on. Even if the pictures weren't of their kid that day, just to see what's going on in the classroom, to have that window into the classroom throughout the day. Wow, that would be great. If I could see what my own children are doing in their schools right now, and they're older than preschool, that would just be awesome. I love it when the art teacher at my girls' school posts pictures of what's going on in the art classroom. It gives me this window or this insight into what they're learning, and just kind of makes me excited. But don't do that while you're supposed to be working with the children. Wait until after work or nap time or something like that. Be sure that you invite families to share these handles for the different social networkings or pages or blogs or whatever to families and friends. So growing up, I lived in South Carolina, or actually close to Montgomery also. I lived in South Carolina and near Montgomery, and I had relatives in Virginia and relatives in South Florida, and we were just a long way from everybody, and they just could not be involved in our everyday life. And how neat would that have been for my grandparents to have been able to hop on the computer and see what was going on in my classroom, in preschool or kindergarten or first grade or something like that. And instead they had to wait for a visit every 6 months. And anyway, so and keep it current. That is something that people have a hard time doing, keeping things current. If you're going to do it right. All right. This using social networking can help inform or remind parents and communities of things. My middle daughter now, she's in 3rd grade as I'm recording this, and they are going on this twice weekly field trip, I guess, to swimming lessons. Some university students are learning how to become swim coaches or something like that, and her teacher uses texting, this Remind app to every time they go swimming to remind us to send swimsuit and towel and all of that within the next day. She sends out messages saying, hey, school's been canceled tomorrow, or no extended day activities tomorrow, or don't forget the whatever parties tomorrow, or whatever. So we can, keep parents up to date. You can do that with text or Facebook. And this is a great platform also to post, new research. If you've got a Facebook page, and that's, again, the one I'm most familiar with, post pictures of the kids, little anecdotal things, but also if you find a great article that might apply to parents and home and activities in the home or parenting tips or something like that, put that on there too. You know, keep it short so that the parents will read it, but that's a great place to put things like that. This can help parents and community to see that all the learning that goes on despite what comes home in the final products. And so, you know, parents can, okay, so say a child comes home with a big old blob of brown paint on a piece of paper, they're going to be like, parents could be like, you know, what is this big brown blob on a piece of paper? But if they could see, you know, photographs of their child and how their child was learning and mixing colors together and swirling colors together and how it felt, you know, between their fingers and you know, just the whole process, they're going to appreciate what is really going on as the children are doing this. Yes. Okay. Oh, and back to that first point there, I meant to say, this is also a great, you know, way, social networking, texting to let parents know about weather warnings or pajama days or things like that. Okay, so some warnings with social media and texting and things like that you just need to be aware of. You may have the temptation to post things or feel that freedom to get on your phone during the day when you should be taking care of children, which is a no-no. Keeping those kids safe and teaching those kids is much more important than staying exactly completely up to the minute on posting things on Facebook or Twitter or really. Again, don't post pictures of children without parents' written permission. It could blur the lines between personal and professionalism. One time I was working with somebody who kind of ran the carpool situation. It was very important, I guess, in the carpool situation at the place I was working. She also had a daughter in middle school, so she would go pick her daughter up in middle school, you know, at the end of the school day, and apparently one day the carpool situation at the middle school was not good, and she started posting stuff on Facebook about how, you know, these stupid parents, you know, during carpool XYZ'd, and I saw that and I thought, oh my goodness, she is writing about our preschool and the carpool at our preschool, and she wasn't. She was writing about the carpool at the middle school, but I did have at least one parent come to me and say, what was she talking about? You know, that can hurt a place's reputation because you are blurring that line between the personal and professional. You may end up with critical comments. Hopefully you won't. Critical comments posted by teachers and parents, and there's also always the risk of miscommunication, but you know, honestly, there's the risk of miscommunication with, you know, almost anything. Alright, last slide here. I don't know who Lori Ruff is, but she said social media is here to stay. It's not going away. It's not a passing fad. Be where your customers are, and they're in social media. So I'm doing these e-training courses, and most people I'm working with, you know, are, you know, fairly, you know, familiar with the computers or emails or social media. If you're not, it's okay, but get familiar with it, because that's where we are now. We are with dealing with computers all the time and social media all the time. You need to know how to use them so that you can communicate with parents and the public, and you know, just really do what's best for the kids there. So anyway, I think that is everything for this particular training, and I thank you guys for listening. I know it was kind of long, and also for being patient, because I know I had to turn the camera off a couple times and the recording off a couple times because I was getting texted about my sick daughter. So anyway, give me a call or an email if you need anything, and you know, we're still tweaking and trying to iron out some of the wrinkles in this e-training. So if there is an error or if I've done something that I need to correct, please let me know. All right, thanks.